So we're all proud.
From nitwit to coal miner.
People don't understand anxiety is not just being nervous.
Whatever.
Hi, welcome to episode 18, a live recording, pre-recording for the podcast Over the Edge. It is a podcast by anxiety, and it is a podcast about anxiety, and it wouldn't be one of my recordings if I didn't really mess up in the beginning. So I actually didn't even do it on purpose. It just happens that way. I have a really great guest tonight. This is Issa Kixen, a queer Indigenous comedian. She is like woke as fuck, Aboriginal activist, and 10 times cooler than I will ever be, from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Hi, Issa.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Good.
You have your own podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty fun adventure. It's called Tales from the Ripped, and it's a podcast all about drugs.
And is there something special about the podcast?
I honestly
like you're on drugs when you do it.
You know what? I have been for every episode. Like, I'm usually high for every episode. Just because I have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, and so it affects a lot of parts of my body that hurt all the time. And so I find that between like pharmaceutical pain meds and like edibles, that the edibles make me feel a million times better than the pharmaceutical drugs. Like, I'm not, like knocking pharmaceuticals, but I just find that like, I'd rather go for an edible than a Percocet because like I don't feel angry with edibles, whereas like Percocets, like after a while, you just like they make you angry, I find, or they make me angry. And I just,
It's a very personal thing too. I find like the things that work and the things that don't work. And I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I can't, I can do the Percocet really, or anything that could be psychoactive. But I'm also a comedian like you, and we all need something, right? We're all suffering. Antidepressants or mood stabilizers don't work for everybody, but they work for me. They keep me from wanting to set myself on fire. So,
Oh, I'm on mood stabilizers as well. I find like the difference between like a mood stabilizer and like a pain reduction type of medication. They're too much for me.
I didn't know that you were in pain. Like I didn't know that. I just thought you were a lot of fun. She's a good time all the time. Oh, you're like, I'm just trying to manage not crying. Thank you.
I mean, a lot of it, it does, like if I wasn't in chronic pain, I'd probably just be like a super happy dude, like that's always high without pain.
Your comedy would suffer terribly. I'm going to tell you that right now. No, maybe. Yes. Sometimes I'm in a good mood for too long and I think, oh, am I still going to be funny? I feel like it's my edge. Obviously it's not, but so I have your name right there. Issa Kixen, because you've changed it a couple of.
So I changed my name like once I came out of the closet as non-binary. I started to go by my old name, which is Issa. It's just it's like Alyssa, but without the L.
So it's sort of unisex. What do you mean for like by non-binary?
So I just, growing up, like as an Indigenous, that's totally.
I've got friends who are like, they're just not bright. I'm not that bright, so I don't want to. I just want to be clear.
It's all good. I'm totally fine with that question. I
You're
just, like growing up as like an Indigenous queer kid and never really feeling like I was the gender that I was told I was. And having that stifled like during my childhood and, like into my like teenhood. And then once I became a parent, I just was like, okay, this is it. Like, you have to start being a woman. And even in parenthood, like it never stuck and it never felt real. It didn't feel like that was me, that's who I am. And so, through a lot of just being a part of the queer community, I started talking with like a lot of other non-binary folks and just realized I was like, oh, that's what I was, but that's what, a lot of people around me stifled and was like, no, you can't, you have to grow your hair out long and, you have to wear dresses and, you're pretty, like you're growing boobies now. And I was just like, oh, but I don't like these things. It doesn't
Did you
feel
find,
good.
and you felt like it was more like your community, the people that were around you.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was actually just always a tomboy when I was younger, and I sort of grew up, and I don't think I ever blossomed into a woman, but
Yeah.
and you, by the way, and you know this, you're my go-to for everything. If I have questions, and when you
Yeah.
had first identified as non-binary, I would say she, and I'd go, no, I'm so sorry. I mean them, you, they,
Yeah.
and you would just tell me to relax, and
Yeah.
it'll happen.
I mean, like the fact, like people will, sort of like over apologize. And I'm like, you know what? The fact that like you're even trying, like you're attempting to acknowledge my existence, like of who I truly am, that
Recognizing
for
you for
me,
who
I'm
you
just
are.
like, that
That's
makes my heart feel nice,
that's kind of sad too, because your level of contentment, or you even get joy from just being acknowledged, or somebody just trying to say it right. It's very
Yeah.
important. I know why they over apologize, because
Yeah.
no, it's recognized, this is who you are. And
Yeah.
and everybody should recognize that. End of story. I love Elliot Page. Like, are you kidding me? When that happened,
Oh my God, the
when they
lesbians
came
were
out,
so angry.
who, what?
The turfy lesbians who tried to claim Elliot before he came out as trans were just like triggered. Like it was.
Oh, I didn't even think there would be anything on that
Oh,
side among, man,
yeah,
it's like
there
every
was.
community.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. But I thought it was great, because
Mm-hmm.
people were looking at changes and having to make the name change. And I remember thinking of like, one person's going to accidentally deadpan him
Yeah,
or sorry, dead name him and
yeah,
dead name him. And then like everybody's just going to attack. But that's where we're at right now. We're
yeah,
at a place where that's actually, it's more unacceptable to make a mistake, I feel.
yeah. No, because I mean, like my family. It's weird because my family has known me as Issa most of my life. Like I was who I was most of my life, up until I became a mom. And like everyone called me Issa, like my parents, my siblings, everyone called me Issa. The only difference is that I didn't come out and say like this is like a part of my gender. And once I finally did, my family is like refusing to call me Issa. And it's like, Alyssa, this is my girl, or, that's my sister because she's a girl. That's a woman. She's a woman. And like,
That's
and
okay.
it's like,
I'm your sister now, and I'm your mom. So I've got you. And we don't have to talk about that. I mean, I'm sure you spent tons of times feeling like, justifying and talking, whatever, but because
yeah,
there's a million better things about you, like to or interesting
yeah,
current events other than something, So you have your podcast where you're high all the
yeah,
time. You have
yeah,
movement, so and you're on mood
yeah,
stabilizers, kind of levels you out. We're all
yeah.
just train wrecks a little bit.
And it's funny because I was talking to another one of my comedian friends today, and I just like, because we'll just message each other like out of the blue. And I'll be like, hey, bud, where are you at in the pandemic? And then he's like, well, I haven't had a cry yet today, so that's where I'm at in the pandemic. Where are you at? And I was like, I'm at the stage of making up scenarios in my head and hurting my own feelings because I took it too far,
I've been
and then
through both
being
of
really
those.
upset about it.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking I went through the crying phase for me lasted about 3 months. And I
Yeah.
didn't, I'm not a crier or hugger. I'm not really good with discussing feelings, and like, by my
Mm-hmm.
choppy, my communication is shit. I don't even know why I'm a comedian. I don't even know why I have a podcast. I'm not very good. You see how my intros are? They're terrible. But I I would just cry, and then and then people that you haven't met. You said you talked to a comedian, you just
Yeah.
message, hey, where are you at? So I love comedians. You can message them a year and a half later and like pick up a conversation you were just in.
Yeah. No, that's totally true.
When was the last time you cried?
Today, after I hurt my own feelings.
You're like, we literally just covered this.
I texted him while I was crying.
You're wiping tears off the phone. Well, I hope today goes better for you. What made you want to start your podcast? And I'm curious because you've done production and not just comedy, but you were in your improv. You've got like 19 years experience. And I opened for your album a few years ago when you had done you recorded your own album. You're so busy. You're so out there. You have all this stuff going on, and then COVID. But you put on now you have a podcast. What made you decide to do that one?
I actually had the idea like years ago, and well, when I say years, I mean like 2 years ago. I had the idea, just because it's something like, especially in this industry, like in the entertainment industry, like whether you're a comedian or an actor or like TV, whatever, like there's always drugs involved, and I know that just in everyday life, drugs are involved. And this isn't like a new thing because drugs have been around since, the earth has been in existence. That's just, our biology to nature. And I thought like, I would like to talk about drugs, but like in a storytelling format. Like that's my favorite thing about drugs is hearing other people's drug stories. And for me,
why has nobody done this? You're explaining it. I'm like, that is awesome.
I watched there's a special on Netflix called Have a Good Trip. And they explain it's all about like LSD and like hallucinogenics. And there's a component to it where they interview like famous people. Like they interview, I think it's Mike D from the Beastie Boys and like all these other people. And then they have experts talking about LSD. But I liked like they were like these little snippets of these people's like experiences with LSD. And I was like, I like that part. Like I like the storytelling aspect. And so
that's amazing. And I won't go into the whole thing again. It's funny that I just had Bobby Knuff on, and he was talking about a book where he read about psychedelics and it changed everything. And now there's this is the first I'm hearing about it on Netflix, which I'm going to watch. Without reading the book, without watching the show, I'm going to tell you, I've been using psychedelics, magic mushrooms actually, as resets for 10 years because they work. Period.
They do.
Not this microdosing, not this. And like I said, I'll take 3 grams and just trip the fuck out, and then it really works. It works. It resets everything. It's an absolute emergency situation. I will do it. And I was just thinking, because you asked me to be on your podcast, and you said everybody, and you said, "Are you going to be high?" I was like, I don't know. I don't get high, but you know what? I do. Maybe I'll take. Could I recreationally take a couple of mushrooms for your podcast? I wonder if
that'll be one hell of a podcast episode.
You know what? Why not? Why? I'm not going to get addicted to it. I'm not going, if it goes to, is it live?
No, I totally fucking like edit
Okay.
the shit out of those.
And it's an audio podcast.
Yeah, it's an audio, so like you can be in your jams and just be in a pillow fort.
I'm going to do some, I've got some here. I'm going to take some mushrooms, 0.5 gram. And then I'll be able to honor you. I'm doing this for you. I'll be able
My heart.
to honor the spirit of your podcast. You know what? I'll do whatever for my friends. I'll do anything.
My heart, my soul.
I'm gonna do mushrooms and go on your podcast. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's gonna be so much fun. You have to make sure to reiterate with me when we get off not to go and do my own podcast.
Yeah.
I might need some guidance.
Yeah.
What is that on your jacket? On your
It's
the other side.
Sorry, the other side.
I do that. I keep fixing my hair on the.
I know, me too.
Do you have a mirror camera too? It's like.
It is Walking Eagle News.
Okay.
And it's my friend Tim Fontaine. He's my former producer when I was working on The Laughing Drum. And he has this satirical news site called the Walking Eagle News. And it's like the indigenous version of the Beaverton or
really?
the Onion.
Oh,
yeah.
you know what? No, I've seen it. I'm sure I've seen it. Okay.
Yeah.
The Walking Eagle News. And you've been on that. And the Laughing Drum is a CBC or is it?
No, that one's
Canadian
APTN.
Oh, APTN. Sorry, it's APTN.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to be on national television.
Yeah. I mean, you still are. You still do guest spots, don't you? Aren't you on?
No. Actually, the TV show is on hiatus until the network decides like what they want to do with it. Like if they want to keep it as like a news panel, or if they want to do like kind of like a talk show type of format. I don't know, but it's on hiatus.
The world is a changing. I bet they go online. That's why I think everything is going to eventually just turn into a streaming service anyway.
You know what? And it makes a lot of sense. Like I know a lot of people, like especially comedians, when the pandemic hit and a lot of us had to go like online, to at least still work. Like I lost thousands.
I know you were one of that. This is why I like having comedians. I also go all over the place when I have comedians. So what have you done? What are you doing now? What's happening? How do you see it? How do you think it's going to be? What do you like you're spearheading it for? You were prior to the pandemic. You'd released an album. You were doing. You just did tons of shows all the time. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And was that as an independent, or do you work for an organization?
Well, my comedy is independent. Like it's just, that's me. I also have like a collective, so that's Woke Comedy Hour, where we produce shows like as a collective, and it's for BIPOC comedians. And then I deliver workshops. So like I do theater workshops, I do improv workshops, I do teen dating violence workshops.
Wow.
I'm
going to go there and learn how to not do it.
To not do it.
To deal with it after. I'm just kidding. This is awesome. Do you have an adult version of the violent dating? Because
God.
I know. Sorry, that's
it's like no. It is. It's really weird because when I started doing those workshops, just like the adults who would be supervising these like youth led initiatives, like I'd be going through this material with them, and like all the adults in the room always get triggered because it's like, the more you know. Like I wish I'd known this when I was like 12 years old. Like the amount of adults who are like, oh, so I was being groomed for most of my life. Fan-fucking-tastic, So like, I know you were just like making a joke, but it's true. Like it really is like, this is something that we probably should have been learning a lot earlier on in our lives.
Absolutely. And the jokes sometimes in poor taste are still just a knee-jerk reaction as a comedian because of trauma that I've endured. So but I'm never going to say I could say whatever I want because I've had trauma. Right? So of course I don't mean that. I don't. So yeah, because you're just and you're all over the place. And
I am. I do a fuck. Oh, and I also do drag too, and that started to get pretty big too. So it was like,
don't say it's a drag. Don't say it was a drag. Don't say it was a drag. Okay.
it was a fucking drag, man.
Ah, shit. There you go. No.
Just like everything that I did, like every way that I made money that made me happy just was like gone.
Except that, okay, so that's why you're doing the podcast. You also have a TikTok account. You also have you've done what I did. I wasn't losing a pile of money from going online. I'm a comedian of the North, but I wasn't losing a lot of money by having to move stuff online. I turned it into something just because I do it for entertainment and I do it for fun. And I love that you're adapting. Not a lot of women are doing it.
Yeah, and I mean,
why?
That's the thing. I like, maybe because I'm like at that weird millennial age where it's like, see, even with my bedroom door closed, like he still comes and harasses me.
Bring him on.
But you have to adapt, and I think that's the funny thing about like kids who were born in like the early 80s, like late 70s, is that we were always in a stage of like transition and having to adapt, because it was like you move from one technology to another technology to another technology. And like that's when they, like you're talking about like, the metric system and the conversion table and, just different ways of like teaching math. Like we were those kids that were like the guinea pigs. Like we were experimented on.
We had metal, or we had like tinfoil on rabbit ears.
Yes.
But also then we had to switch the way, and then you also came into entertainment with a production background. Like that's where your education is. So you knew when I was talking to you about like the sound and you know all that stuff. So actually that's a huge advantage.
Yeah. No, I went to school for broadcasting. I went to the school that was in the mall in Winnipeg.
On the back of a match cover.
No, it was in the basement of a mall.
It counts.
Yeah, it counts. I got my diploma. It was my broadcasting diploma from Academy of Broadcasting Corporation. And then I didn't use it for a really long time. And then I was also in radio for a couple of years. And like really, I bounce all over. I don't know if it's because of like my ADHD.
I was going to say, every single comedian that comes on here, ADHD, depression.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like all this stuff. We are and I'm sure I'm not hitting on anything other people don't know, but we are a very specific demographic. And this is where I thought I wasn't going to fit in, because I'm like, oh, they're confident, outgoing people. We're not. I know. I mean, you laugh. The first couple of green rooms I was in with other comedians, I was like, this could be so much fun. No, we're all just kind of.
It's like just sitting around with a bunch of fucking paranoid fucking people who are just like, oh, what joke are you doing tonight? I was going to do this joke, but if you do that joke, then it ruins my whole set, like.
I am going to say, though, I have some strong connections, and you're one of them, that are probably stronger than connections with people that I've known for years with family, because we bond. We all trauma bond. It's very exciting.
That's exactly. It's funny because me and one of my other friends who had a similar bonding experience as you and I, we trauma bonded because of the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, I feel like those connections are like, I know trauma bonding is something that's like, labeled as like unhealthy, because I also used to be a social worker, but I don't know, I feel like those are some of the strongest connections I've made.
They are. Well, you've heard the term, like if you take, if it's a codependent relationship and you guys have abused each other, that is not healthy. But I don't know if you heard like the two guinea pigs, right? If they don't get along, if you put them in a box and like shake them a little bit. I've never done this, but if you shake them, then of course now they become BFFs, right? Yeah. Like I think you and I became very close friends because we were put in a box and we were shaken. So, and we came out and we're like, hey, I too
Hey.
am shaken. That it's great because it's allowed me to work with you, and you're always incredibly professional. And I know I'm just like praised, but like I love you, and I'm so happy that you're here,
Aw.
and I'm excited. I'm going to do mushrooms and do your podcast. Do you
Yes.
have something that you want to like give a plug or send me a link to, or like tell me about it, and I'll link it with this video, and then just some, I don't know, shameless promo.
Sure.
Maybe a
Yeah.
dozen people will see it.
My dozens of audience and
A
fans.
dozen.
Yeah, my podcast, which is Tales from the Ripped, and it's on, I think, all social media platforms. Like I platform from Anchor, and then Anchor bundles everything, and it sends it
That's
out to
where Over the Edge is going. I'm almost at 20 episodes, and so I'm going to load them
nice.
up and do them that way. Of course, they're not going to be with videos, so I will put I will put a link to your podcast with this one as well.
Yes.
And I want to thank you so much for coming tonight. I need to
Thank
come up with a
you.
catchy end. What do you do at the end? I know somebody at the end of their stuff, they tell everybody like I love you, and they just make it uncomfortable until the person says it back. I'm like, man, I want something like that. Yeah.
That's why I just like I asked one of my friends to like make some instrumentals, and then I just like did like an acknowledgement at the end of my podcast where I'm like,
I've got an outro, but I don't even know how to do the outro. I was like, okay, goodbye, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. Bye. And then I'll come up with something clever. Man, my intros, my outros they're terrible. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I guess I will talk to you next on your podcast.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Alyssa.
Peace.
Gotcha.